Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. It is a busy Tuesday here for the old Seaman, and it's only off one piece of content. We got a little trailer today, and it's fantastic. But there was also a little bit more to it. So, I got my trailer reaction up, put it up on socials, and then kind of did this whole event that happened. And since watching the Fantastic Four trailer, I have gone to therapy and showered, if you couldn't tell. But I've probably watched the trailer about 5-6 more times, and there's just stuff that I didn't say that I was thinking as I was watching the trailer some more, and figured, you know what, it's been a while since we've done a breakdown, so why don't we sit through this bad boy, kind of go almost shot by shot, and just point out some of the things that I think are cool, some of the things that are working, and maybe, a couple little Easter eggy things that we didn't touch on. What are we talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We are getting ready to dive in a little bit deeper into the official teaser trailer for the Fantastic Four First Steps. And like I said, it was a little bit of a rough start this morning. We got that announcement trailer tease that was 20 seconds yesterday. Mentioned 7 a.m. Eastern time, 4 a.m. on the West Coast, which sucks, but Fantastic Four, get the 4 in there. And then he jumped online, and to be fair, you watch that little 20-second thing, it does say prepare for launch. And that's what we got. We got a 1-hour prep for a launch, followed by a launch event before finally launching the trailer. And then we had the prepare for launch little event that I put the whole thing up. So that's all up there for you guys, but I can't help but want to dive back into this trailer one more time and go through it a little bit more than we did when we first watched it. So let's get the trailer up for you. I've got it up in front of me, and right out the gate, I really just love that we're opening with Reed bringing somebody into the Baxter building along with Sue, kind of showing them the house. These are absolute celebrities here in the 60s in this universe. And it's probably one of those hey, come on, cribs, right? Hey, come on in, let me show you around. So I love that you kind of get that right out the gate. Look at that wonderful shot of the New York skyline right out the window there. And one of the other things that we'll kind of touch on as we go throughout the trailer that I really dig is the futuristic past. You know what I mean? The way the past thought the future would look. A lot of those vibes are in here. Specifically, as a kid growing up watching the Jetsons, there's a lot of Jetsons vibes around the Baxter building, and especially when we get to H.E.R.B.I.E. So cool to see H.E.R.B.I.E in there. But when we get to H.E.R.B.I.E and Ben talking about dinner, you kind of do get a real Jetsons vibe. But I love this look, right? The look of the building, the elevator being, circular, the prints on the floors, the wood paneling everywhere, everything about the Baxter building and their apartment screams 60s, but screams we are celebrities in the 60s.
We make a point
and not just that, but you've got someone like Reed Richards, who's a scientist, leading the charge on some of that futuristic stuff. It's not shocking to me that the Baxter building and their apartment have that kind of futuristic vibe that would have been the way we saw the future back in the day. So I love kind of bringing that and blending it in with the Marvel stuff. The other thing that I really dig, and we'll play it you can hear it.
Week. Sunday at 7 on the dot.
The Michael Giacchino score here is fantastic. And I'm going to say fantastic a lot because this is the Fantastic Four, so just deal with it. But the thing I'm loving about it is it's got that kind of ominous, futuristic-y type of sound to it, right? Listening to it the second time, I was this could almost be a horror movie score. And you certainly can play with some horror elements. And Giacchino himself directed a horror thing for Marvel when you look at the Werewolf by Night little mini special that he did. So when you consider what happens to them is fairly horrific, and we saw that with the last Fox iteration. They tried to go down that more horrific route, and it just didn't quite work out. But to maybe Giacchino score is hinting that we might have some of those things that are kind of terrifying that happen to them, and what could be coming. But the Giacchino score of the entire trailer is fantastic.
No matter what,
I just love the sound, and then I even just the Marvel Studios logo, changing it up, it lets you know that, yes, this is in the MCU, but we are definitely someplace else. We are not in the 616. We're in a different universe. So you're even seeing a different logo that jives way more with what they got going on with the 60s, which is, I think, really, really cool. The building from the outside, like, that's so dope. And the giant 4 there, like, it just, oh, it looks so good. Can't wait to see more. And then there's good old H.E.R.B.I.E popping up right there. I love the way that he looks, and we'll see more of him as we kind of go through, but you can like see like all the little mechanical pieces. Like he feels like he's definitely physical and probably a puppet of some kind that's being used. Although he could be CGI too, because CGI is really good. And Ben looks so good, man. Like I'm just in awe a lot of times in how accurate they can make these things look, but also make them look like their own. But definitely gives you some, I think, Kirby vibes in and around the thing. Like I said, the pronounced eyebrow, like it looks great. But the other thing that I absolutely love about this scene, you got Ebon Moss-Bachrach playing the thing, and here he is cooking family dinner with H.E.R.B.I.E when the thing that pretty much everybody would know him from is the bear and Cousin. So you got Cousin in the kitchen cooking in the Fantastic Four, and not just cooking but giving H.E.R.B.I.E tips, man. He's like, I just a little bit of garlic, I just want to have some zest. Like I love that they put that in there for Eben. Like one of those, again, I love the family vibe. So like cooking family dinner, that's like a very traditional family thing to do, something that I love for the Fantastic Four as Marvel's first family. But I don't know if you necessarily have a cooking scene or you open your trailer with a cooking scene if it's not Ebon Moss-Bachrach. So really cool to see Cousin cooking with H.E.R.B.I.E. But like I love the way like H.E.R.B.I.'s eyes move. Like you can see like the little discs and wheels in there spinning around. But like that just screamed Cousin for a moment, and I love it. And I hope that you get a good kind of like comedic relationship between H.E.R.B.I.E and the Thing. Like I could see him and Ben jiving in a way that's a lot of fun to kind of explore on screen. So I hope we get to see more of H.E.R.B.I.E and Ben together.
I want to add a couple cloves of garlic. Not because it's not delicious, I just want to add a little bit of zip, okay?
Or a little bit of zip. This July, again, here we see, now this is where I think one of the little Easter eggs, you start to watch it like more and more. And I'd seen like a post on Instagram that like mentioned some of the takeaways, and I was like, where did we see Reed working on interdimensional travel? But it's right here as he's sitting standing. He's not sitting, but standing in front of this really dope friggin' chalkboard that can kind of raise and lower. And just his office in general, I think, is cool. I like how the chalkboard's there. You have that beautiful, skyline shot. You have all the suits in the background. And again, just that past futuristic vibe to the room. But if you zoom in to the middle of the chalkboard there, you can see that little drawing that's like, a little 2 holes connecting through a little tube. And you can see that you're looking like entry point, exit point, and then what looks to say like another universe or dimension. I can't quite make it out there. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit more. But yeah, I can't quite make out what it says. But seems to be hinting at another universe. And knowing that this is a movie taking place in one universe that will eventually lead the Fantastic Four to our universe, I wonder if what Reed is working on here is going to lead to whatever happens at the end of the movie that propels them possibly into Secret Wars. Who knows if Doom is going to be involved at all here, or if this plays into Doomsday. But certainly going to take them to Secret Wars before joining the MCU proper. And I think it's kind of cool that Reed is one of the people that is working on this, especially depending on how they play with Doom, knowing that Tony figured out like time travel and stuff. It would be pretty cool if like you had a Stark version of Doom that is also figured out interdimensional travel. at the same time as Reed. Like, you could play with those things if you wanted to, but just the fact that we see Reed playing with interdimensional travel is a pretty cool Easter egg, knowing that they're eventually going to travel into our universe. Here, I just love the vibe of like the first flight, like getting to see Eben before he's thing. That's really great. And the trailer is able to tee up that kind of, like best looking pilot, and then, oh shoot, like I'm the thing. But really fun to see them all together there. The spaceship, like, that's a cool looking rocket. We saw that in the 20-second tease on one of the monitors. And one of the other things that we saw on the monitors, in one of the posters, there's a poster that's come out that's got like the kids looking at the monitors, and you can kind of see like Sue and Reed like trying to give each other like a little kiss, but the glass is in the way, or at least it looks like they're leaning in for one. But fun stuff. But rocket, really, really cool visual. I also like just how like you're seeing like it looks like it's a real, like the way air is moving and stuff. I really like this too, right? Like you can tell that Reed is definitely hung up still on everything that's happened, and he definitely has those moments where like, was this a good thing? And I like that like he talks about, her disappearing, which again, or not again, but for the first time, I love, and you'll see it even more when she uses the powers, but when she is turning invisible, you're seeing light refraction and changing in that light and those waves as she goes invisible. It's such a cool visual and holds a real scientific kind of vibe, which I think is key when you're talking about a group of scientists, or two scientists, and then Johnny and your pilot in the thing. But like, I love giving a really sci-fi scientific vibe to how Sue changes to be invisible. It's just a cool visual every time. And again, like I said, some of that horrific stuff, like this sequence could play out rather scary, depending on how they play it, right? Like if this is a flashback that's a dream, right? Like you see Reed in bed right before this. Maybe he's having a nightmare. Maybe he's talking about like how he goes back to that day and thinks about those things. And like, obviously Ben was a rock. And here, like I said, you get the best looking pilot. And I mean, you go from best looking to that's tough, and that's something that Ben, certainly struggles with semi-frequently, especially in the early days. I also love that we see Ben in the classic, like him in the trench coat and the clothes, like when he's going out and about. That's just like a real classic look that I love. Talking about, the flame on looks so good. It looks so good, and I love the camera work on the flaming on. Like watching as he flies when we get later in the trailer and you see him kind of zipping through the city. Really, really good. But this follow from Sue, like that's one of the things that in her one question and answer that Vanessa Kirby got during the event, she said one of the things she attaches herself to and loves the most about Sue is her maternal instincts. Like in the comics, she's a mother. They do have kids eventually. Interesting to say that ahead of this movie. Makes me wonder if anything about the kids or that is going to be present in this movie, or if that's a potential arc for Sue over the course of their movies in the MCU. But regardless, seeing the maternal instincts in her here, both like when she's sitting with Ben, I mean, just the way like Ben puts his hand on her knee there, you can kind of tell like they're probably having a deep conversation. But the way that she is flipping it for Reed, right? Like, oh man, like before Ben was a rock, Ben was always a rock. Like one of those, why do you make that character into a stone or into a rock creature? Because he's the rock of the group, and that's very true to Ben. Oh yeah,
Johnny is Johnny.
I love that she says Johnny is Johnny. But talking about like before he got fired, Johnny's always been the fire of the group. Like he is a spark plug. He is a little immature, and he's a bit hard-headed and egotistical at times. It can be a little bit of a wild card shooting from the hip, but that's what makes Johnny Johnny, and that's why he is fire. And I like that like Sue is able to like line up reasons why these people might end up with those powers and how they kind of connect with their general vibe as a person. And the one thing that we don't get really from Johnny is any audio outside of him saying, hey. Anybody, I think, that's nervous if you're going to kind of nail the hot-headed aspects of Johnny, because you don't really see it present here, this is the shot and the vibe. It's like, I'm not worried about Joseph Quinn at all. This feels like Johnny, right? Like, wherever they are, he's sitting around in his suit, lounging, playing around, being a little bit childish, I'm sure. I think Quinn will handle that stuff very, very well. I do want to see the hot-headed stuff from Quinn, and it should be something that I think we eventually get to and we see out of him, because the character's gonna need it. And I think Quinn will crush on that too. But this here is just like, when you're thinking about Johnny on the good-natured end of his character and the fun parts of Johnny, like this shot just in general, from him like sitting this way and also just being upside down to begin with the visor down, screams Johnny to me. I love it. And Johnny is Johnny. This shot too, I mean, one of the things we know about Kevin Feige, he likes to try to beat DC to the punch on things. And you got this new Superman movie coming out same year, and ironically, the barrel roll has been a big question, mostly because of the visual of Corin Sweat's face. But like, I think the way Gunn is shooting, the way he's flying, looks pretty cool. I mean, to see that, like, that barrel roll twist I thought it looked dope. I thought the whole thing looked cool. But this could be like one of those things where it's like, you know what? Let's get a little Superman-y before Superman gets out, and hit it in the trailer. Like the way he shoots out here and heads in, and then we'll see him when he's just like up there before he falls and goes back down. Another one of those things that feels very Johnny, but also visually kind of steals a little bit from Supes and things you might see Gunn do. Such a fascinating to watch how Feige plays with things. But here, Sue using her powers, you're really seeing that light refracting and how her power set visually is going to work. And it's so dope looking. Like, just
right here.
And like, even though she's invisible, I'm right here, right? Like, just that reassuring nature of Sue. You can tell Kirby is going to just knock those elements out of the ballpark. But this shot right here, like, that looks like something that Clark might have done when he first got his flying powers. You know what I mean? And I hate to be like that. And I'm not saying that that's what Matt Shakman is thinking about in this shot. I think it's just a really dope shot for any character that can fly and leave the atmosphere and come back. Including it in the trailer is the thing where it feels like Feige just kind of, taking little takes, and might be bold. DC's on the up and Marvel's kind of fluttering to see which way we're going to go. I think we're going to be on the up very soon with Marvel, because this looks fantastic, and I'm praying for Captain America, man. I want good things for Anthony Mackie. But this shot, it's just so beautiful. What type of threat is coming, and like, how is it coming in here? Is this an like, are these asteroids coming in? Is this attached to Galactus in some way? A little bit of PTSD, seeing smoky things and saying Galactus. But be interested to see how that plays in. Just looks beautiful and terrifying, but the score just continues. The Fantasticar debut looks so good. I'm so stoked. I hope we get like a really dope chase scene with this car, but it looks freaking, again, it's that like past vision of what futuristic looks like. Like, that's the vibe you're getting. And I tell you what, you'd never find me in one of those stupid Tesla trucks. I think it's so strange that Tesla is going into these really bulky, just ugly looking cars. I would drive this, though. This thing is sleek and sexy, and I likes it very much. And the other thing, too, you can see it in that shot of Sue before, where she's like on the ground. You can see that clearly they must have taken the Fantasticar to whatever is happening. So that's fun to kind of see that in the background. This following Johnny's first flight is going to be a lot of fun, and the way that it's trailing him. And like, shoot, like as he kind of does a speed up, the camera speeds up and gets a little bit closer. Really, really dig that visual look. Love this shot of Ben running full speed. Like, it's one of those, you see the thing and you're not going to think he's going to be able to move. You might think he might do like a Hulk type thing where he could jump kind of far. But see, like, nah, man, Ben can just freaking... at that speed, he could probably bust through anything that's in front of him. So that's going to be a lot of fun. John Malkovich's secret character has arrived. I can't wait to find out what he is. It looks like he's got like black and white stripes on, so maybe he's a prisoner. We know that Mole Man is in the movie. Probably not that. And with somebody else that has been mentioned around Mole Man, Paul Walter Hauser, not somebody here present in the trailer either. Also, not seeing Julia Garner's Silver Surfer, but a sneak look at whatever this character is. I tend to find when Marvel introduces original characters, or I mean, it could be an original character, or it could be a secret character. When you have one where you're like, I don't know who that is, but it's probably somebody. I'll be very interested to see who he is and how Malkovich is involved, just in general, because Malkovich freaking rules. This shot here of Reed, he's got more of the grays in his hair, so I'm assuming, and this space suit looks a little bit different than the ones that you see in like the flashback, so I'm assuming that this is probably something happening in the movie itself. I don't know why, and it could just be the coloring, like the way the white and the blue and the way the suit is. I love the 4 on the side there, but like and the way he's looking at whatever he's looking at, it's such a captivating shot for like the second and a half you get. I love when you can get a shot. It's like it's just a dude turning, but like I just think it looks like something cool or big is happening in this moment. I don't know why. That's just my gut. Then this. As I said in my original trailer reaction and said earlier here, that Silver Surfer sequel movie that we got to the first run of Fantastic Four with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, we turned Galactus into a cloud, like a smoky cloud. And that's rough, because Galactus visually is one of the most intriguing looking characters. And when you want to talk about Jack Kirby imagery, like, Galactus just screams Kirby in so many ways, and to not see that realized on a big screen was super disappointing when the Fantastic Four came around back then. Now, granted, we were also in a different time period of superhero movies where you weren't getting all these types of really crazy things, right? Like, when I think about that version of the Fantastic Four, I kind of think about something like Watchmen, right? Where, like, you kept it pretty accurate with that movie, but you took the giant squid stuff out, because at that point in time, most audiences that weren't hardcore comic book fans, I don't think that's something that would have like just vibed or worked, and very much the same. Like Galactus to the uninitiated on a big screen back then might not have worked. You get to the Watchmen show that came out, a few years back, and you did incorporate the squids, and you showed that moment that wasn't in the movie, and that was really cool. And now here we are with a chance to bring Galactus back and do him right. And just seeing the shadow was enough. We know that we'd seen his face in the Comic-Con footage that was shown. I was not there, so I didn't see it, but there were images, blurry images, not great images that popped out. But, just giving me the shadow, and like if you look in the bottom left, like you can see a little bit of his hand coming. That's more than enough for me. But then you give me the shot from the back, and you're just like, oh my God, it looks so good. Like, yes, it's not in its full vibrant colors. The way the light is hitting it kind of is putting it in a little bit of a shadowy spot. But the thing I love about this, perspective-wise, you can understand how humongous Galactus is when he enters a planet, right? Obviously, he's big enough to eat planets when he's out in space, but he can change in size. So the scale here, like, if he was just looking out at the harbor, you go, he looks pretty big, but maybe he's on a rock. Like, if the camera's close to him, he's always going to look bigger. You put the Statue of Liberty in there for perspective. I think it's genius. And again, just like what we're getting from the helmet is amazing. Now, one of the things I have kind of questioned is, why would you drop this right before the Super Bowl? Same with DC dropping the 30-second teaser with Superman doing the barrel roll. Why wouldn't you save that for the Super Bowl? DC, probably a money thing. Zazzie's trying to save every dollar he can over there, and they announced they weren't going to the Super Bowl. And in all honesty, it works better, I think, from the promotional standpoint, where like that entire day, the conversation was Superman. If it came out on Super Bowl Sunday, it's going to be in the conversation with a lot of other things. One of the reasons I think we get the full trailer here from Marvel, same thing. Yes, Marvel's going to the Super Bowl with 3 trailers, I believe, so I don't think it's a money thing. But this creates a day just for the Fantastic Four, and you do it on February 4th, F4, Fantastic Four. Like, it lines up really well, and it just gives you the whole day for people to dive into the trailer, do multiple pieces of content, which you probably wouldn't get with the Super Bowl tease and then going to watch the trailer. The thing I think will happen is, being that this was only just over 90 seconds, I'd have to imagine that there's at least 30 seconds worth of footage from Comic-Con that was shown to the public there that hasn't been shown to the public here. And my guess is the 30-second teaser that we get that will say, hey, go look at the full trailer online. I think it's going to have different shots. And maybe we see Galactus up front, see his face through that glass window like it was shown at Comic-Con. That could be one of those things that we're building to. But nevertheless, Galactus is coming. He looks very comic accurate, and that makes me very excited. And then this last shot. This feels like probably third act. Definitely things on the line. You can see Sue's getting a little emotional. But again, just hammering home. Like, we do everything together as a family. Even if we're going to fight, I'm sure at some point Ben's going to end off on his own. Johnny will probably end off on his own. Maybe everybody splinters toward the end of this movie with whatever's going on. Sue's going to be the person that brings them back together. Love that, because it's just so Sue. And Vanessa Kirby is nailing all of those things. But then this. What a wonderful shot, man, of the suits, of kind of giving you an idea of their status. Shout out to Coy Jandreau. If you don't follow Coy and you're a comic book fan, follow Coy. He doesn't just talk about the movies. He's a hardcore comic book nerd who reads more than I could ever even dream of reading. I think he averages like 40 to 50 books a week on the comic side. So if you're a comic book fan, go to his page for sure. Love Coy. He's awesome. But he pointed out that this shot is a recreation of a shot of the Beatles. One of their performances where that's the stage was like all those arrows pointing. And that recreation really shows you like these are the rock stars of this universe. Like the Fantastic Four are on the same level as the Beatles. That's what this image kind of gives you. And that is true. Like the Fantastic Four is huge. You saw it in the faces of the kids running to the TVs to see the Fantastic Four do a launch. Obviously that's their first space mission before they are the Fantastic Four. But clearly at that point too, like Reed would have been super famous. The Baxter building is massive, so like people are gonna know who they are. And then once they become superhumans with powers, yeah, they are the cream of the crop. And to embody that idea in an image that's a callback to the Beatles, I just think is so cool. And then when you look at the comic accurate suits, like long time it was blue with the black, and then they transitioned to the blue with the white. I like that you have Reed with no white. It makes him stand out, as at least along the neckline. I think that's really cool and kind of a callback a little bit. He doesn't have the black, but having it all dark feels more like the original suit. And then, yeah, throwing everybody in with the whites. Like, it looks so good. And as a fan, I am as excited as I hoped I would be after seeing the first moving images for this movie. And yeah, I am just all out stoked, man. I think the logo looks great. I love that they're playing. Does have a little bit of a TVA vibe, because the TVA, I think, has a lot of callbacks in and of itself to the 60s. So it'll be interesting to see how maybe the TVA plays in, especially if we're doing interdimensional time travel. Do they pop up at any point? Who knows? But I think just everything here looks great. It's a wonderful tease. And it's saving stuff for us, man. We haven't seen Galactus's face. We haven't seen Reed getting stretchy at all. He's the only one of the four where we don't see him in superpower mode. We haven't seen Julia Garner yet. We're not sure where Paul Walter Hauser is, who he's playing. Doesn't seem like we saw Mole Man unless we think John Malkovich is that, but I don't. And yeah, you got Malkovich in a surprise role. Like, all the things I want to see from this movie are present in this trailer, and we have stuff to look forward to 6+ months out still, and that's exciting. And like I said, I have a feeling that maybe it'll be Reed getting stretchy, maybe it'll be the shot of Galactus from Comic-Con that people saw there, but I would imagine that when we get to the Super Bowl, one of the 3 Marvel trailers will be Fantastic Four, and it will have some footage that was not represented in this trailer. That said, it's time for me to shut up because I've been talking for a hot minute and flip it over to you guys. What are you most excited about here? Is it the look? Is it the feel? There's a lot of Jetson-y vibes in the visuals and how the buildings and architecture and how the Baxter building and their apartment function. The visual looks of the characters. I mean, the CGI, and if it is mixed with any practical, just like the way Ben looks is so good. I'm pumped for the practical effects, I think, of H.E.R.B.I.E. He looks really cool. Seeing Sue with the refracting light is just a stunning visual. Getting Johnny flaming on a couple times. And no Reed Richards stretching. Is that a good thing, or is that that's something you're looking forward to seeing. Obviously, one of the most iconic parts of the Fantastic Four. So is that stuff working for you? What do you think about the suits, the Fantasticar? Our first look outside of anyone that was at Comic-Con of Galactus. What's working? What's not? Do you feel the Jack Kirby vibes? Do you feel those comic booky Fantastic Four vibes? Anything you got, good, bad, indifferent, on the official teaser trailer for the Fantastic Four First Steps, put it down below in the comment section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer reactions, you want to be here as we approach July and the Fantastic Four and any other trailers that are coming. You just dig the vibe. You want to show a little love and support to the old C-Man? Well, come join C-Maniac Nation. Super easy. Jump over there. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time for the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace! C-Maniac Nation, you look nervous. Is it the scars? Would you like to know where I got them? No? Well, then maybe you'd like to see another video with the C-Man. How about up here or over here? And if you really dig the C-Man, well, then show him a little love right over there.